Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Estate. Right now, we talk about real estate matters that matter to you. We are live here from Linda Craft Team Studios here in Raleigh, North Carolina, part of the Greater Research Triangle Park. Today's show, buying versus renting. What is the real truth? What is the myth? How do we know how to decipher it? We've got all sorts of things happening where we got interest rates and skyrocketing, and we think they're skyrocketing. They're coming down. Are they going up? We don't know. We've got rents. Are they going up? They seem to be inflating everywhere, all over the place. And is it better to rent? Is it better to buy? We got to have answers to these questions. What do we do? We called Dwayne Reece, listing and buyers expert with Linda Craft Team Realtors. We bring him into the show because this is one of his favorite things to talk about. At least that's what he tells me. And he tells everybody because this is one of his favorite things. So everybody, Dwayne, welcome to the show.
Jay,
welcome back.
Great to be back with you. And it is one of my favorite topics. I love talking buying and selling. And a lot of times I get the rent question. There's not a day goes by that someone doesn't ask me about how real estate is doing. And you left one thing out on your introduction there about the triangle. We are the Stanley Cup champions. Triangle market now. So we've got to keep that
we do have to
plug in there.
Yeah, it is, and it's in 20 years between championships.
It's not going to be 20 years the next time.
It was really fun for all of us here. Sorry about the folks in Vegas who are watching the show. Great team. You had a great team. We were just a little better. So here's the deal. Rents keep climbing. Rate fears are happening around us. It seems that buyers are on the sidelines, in a state of confusion, not sure what they should do. Is buying actually dead, or are people just operating under old rules? What's really happening right now?
Great question, Jay. The market is absolutely always changing, always evolving. We do have in our market right now, and I think that's true across a lot of markets across the United States, we have a lot of buyers sitting on the sidelines. And continuing to rent. And so that's why I thought this would be a great conversation for us to have. Is it better to rent? Is it better to buy? What's kind of some of the factors that play in that? And in our market right now, we do have an abundance of inventory. We have over 15,000 homes on the market. I did a quick search this morning and I tightened that down. Homes priced between $325 and $375. We have over 600 homes on our market, right now, on the market in that price range. And so, you can't go a day without watching a news story or reading an article where the word affordability comes up.
Right.
And affordability cuts both ways, whether you're buying a house or renting in a current environment. Affordability is a factor at play. But with over 600 homes on the market between $325 and $375, that's affordable. Right. And while rates are certainly higher than they were during the pandemic years, they're still at historic average right now, bouncing somewhere between 6.5 and 6.7. And then if you were to look at even FHA mortgages or adjustable, you can go even lower, than that on a rate. So,
well, you were in real estate in the 90s, right? I was in real estate
even in the 80s.
Well,
hard to believe.
Yeah, well, hard to believe. But in the late 90s, when I was probably doing more real estate, we saw interest rates between 7 and 7.5.
Yeah. My first home, Jay, I bought in 1996. My rate was 7.75%.
Right. So, and we thought that was amazing because when Linda was in the 80s, when she started, 16%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when it got down to 7 to 7.5, everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's free money.
Oh, yeah.
So different perspectives, right?
I've got friends of mine that are 10 years older than me. And, every time that you are 10 years older than someone looking back, you always have stories that you say, yeah, but back in my day, and I got friends that are 10 years older than me. And their first home purchase in the mid 80s, they were encountering 16, 17% interest rates. My first home, I mentioned 7.75. My third home that I purchased was in 2003. And I got a rate there of 6.75. And I was so excited about that rate because it was almost a point lower. And then turned around about probably 18 to 24 months later, refinanced that down to 5.75. And I thought that was fantastic until we saw rates that were historically low during the pandemic years.
Right. So, it's all relative at the end of the day, right? I mean, I think this is the thing that people have to understand. If you're coming from 16 to 7, you're going, man, that's great.
Right.
If you're going from 3 to 6 to 7,
Yeah.
you're going, oh, that's bad.
Right.
But it's just really what you're saying is it's a normal average pretty much through this.
Sure.
So when it comes to home buying versus renting, one of the questions that comes up is that they're worried about all the maintenance costs, versus, paying, a lease, and that you're responsible for all this stuff. And it's like, okay, everybody tells me there's wealth building, buying a home versus renting, but I don't have to pay for anything when I'm renting. And it just doesn't seem like it works out. Break down this whole thing between maintenance cost. How does that compare to paying 100% interest on a lease? Break all that down for us.
Well, so let's kind of start with just the basics, Jay. First of all, if you are trying to make a decision between buying or renting, let's go to the fundamentals. We all need a place to live, right?
Absolutely.
Unless we want to go pitch a tent at Falls Lake or somewhere else, we all need
live
a
in
place
a cardboard
to lay our
box somewhere.
And so we got to take a look at and go, okay, we all need a place to live. Do we want that place that we're living? Do we want it to be a sunk expense, or do we want it to be an investment that we're actually residing in and building wealth in? And so, everything in life does, every investment brings maintenance cost and cost with it. Whether you're investing in the stock market, you buy a car, you're investing in that car, buy that car or lease it, you still have maintenance that has to take place. So home ownership does bring obviously some maintenance. You got an HVAC that you got to maintain. You have furnace, you have plumbing items, those kind of things. And if you're renting, you can just call the landlord up and they're going to take care of that. But there's always timing on that as well. How responsive is your landlord going to be to your request? Whereas if you actually own the house, you're the one that's taking the initiative on that. You're the one that can expedite any repairs or maintenance that go into it. And so, one of the things I will say to everybody all the time is that buying a home is always the best thing for every single one of us. The question is timing. Sometimes the timing might be a little bit off, but great news. And one of the things that we're going to talk about this afternoon is some programs that get us that will make buying a home as affordable as perhaps what people are paying in rent right now.
Right. So that brings me to a question of you talk about timing. So when is, maybe if we were to say, okay, being fair to renting, when is a good best time to rent? Let's just be fair to it.
Absolutely. I'm on phone calls and conversations with people almost every day of the week, 7 days a week on some subject as far as real estate. And I'll have people that'll ask me, or they'll start unpacking their story. And in some cases, it's actually better for them to rent. And there's really three primary reasons why. One, if you know that you're likely to relocate in the next, say, 12 to 18 months, that's probably a much better scenario from a rental standpoint. If you have some job uncertainty in play, where you're not sure your job is going to keep you in place long term, which again is kind of relocation, that would be another factor at play. So if you're on a short term time frame with uncertainty, those are scenarios to stay in place. The third, and I hear this often, is people say, I don't want the maintenance. We brought that up earlier. I want a landlord to take care of that. If you don't want maintenance, the solution to that is buy a townhouse. Because if you buy a townhouse, most of the maintenance to that is included in the HOA as far as the exterior goes, and then you're just maintaining the interior of the property. So those are the scenarios where renting would actually be more valuable. But again, I'll go back to, I think it's always best to buy if you're in a scenario where you can.
Well, and I think this is the thing. I think for most people is that I think when people go, oh, you're a realtor, you're going to always say it's buying. But I think there is oftentimes, because you could, maybe you're just not financially ready to do that yet, and you need to get your credit right and those type of things, right? Those type of things can happen, and you just have to rent at that point. I think maybe.
Let me give you one other scenario too, Jay.
Yeah.
It's just kind of as you were saying that, this thought popped in my head. I have a friend, and he actually is a client of mine in the past, and he and his wife are going through a marriage breakup right now.
Right.
And the conversation we've had about getting their home on the market, the timing of when and how to do that has somewhat to do with them navigating through a separation agreement and the marriage breakup. And in that scenario, with the uncertainty coming out of that, I've already had a conversation with him. It's probably going to be best for him to rent for a short period of time, whether that short period of time is 6 months or 12 months. So that would be another scenario. But again, that is an uncertain life event that's going on that none of us want to have to navigate, but we often do.
Yeah, I think it's really important that people hear that, if you're in a place to buy, but you're also in uncertainty, where you're not sure what your job's going to do, you're not sure how long your job's going to last, maybe you're going to be relocated, whatever those cases may be, we do need to be fair enough to renting to say, you know what, you should rent.
Absolutely. And you made that statement, I'm a realtor that I'm not always going to want you to buy.
Right.
Not necessarily. Our mission statement, here at Linda Craft Team is about helping people achieve their goals.
Right.
And so sometimes that goal is home ownership. Sometimes that goal is to get that home sold and get to the next stage in life. And so that's where we've got to come in as experts in buying and renting and help them navigate what's the best scenario there. So
that's awesome. Because it's just a different take. Because I know a lot of people listen to the show, watch the show, we're going to go, oh, well, he's just going to say, well, it's not true. We just did this. We just said that right here.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to wait for rates to drop. And people will start sitting on the sidelines.
People have been sitting on the sidelines, Jay, for several months now.
What is the cost of sitting on the sidelines for the next 5 years?
Well, that's a really perfect question because that's a scenario I'm hearing from people all the time. Rates are too high, homes are too expensive. Post pandemic, and what is the cost of homeownership? And the question I would ask is, what does homeownership look like for you if you own that home 5 years from now, 10 years from now, versus not owning that home for the next 5 years, renting for the next 5 years? Can I let you in a little cool secret?
Yeah.
Rates can always go down. Rent never goes down. Rent's always going to go up.
Oh, that's interesting.
Have you ever seen a landlord that reduces rent?
No. I mean, I'm thinking back even in all my years when I was renting, like going to college, grad school, right? And even getting out, I never had a landlord ever say to me, by the way, your rent is going to go down. I've always had them say, hey, listen, we're going to have to raise the rents starting at this point.
And even if you have the most generous landlord and you've locked in a 2-year rent rate, that rent's still going to go up at some point unless you're in a rent controlled situation that we have in some parts of this country. But, rates can and will go down. They fluctuate up and down. Earlier this year, and part of the reason that we've got some buyers sitting on the sidelines right now, not recognizing that there is affordable options right now. We had rates early this year, January, February, in the 5.99 range. There's been a lot of uncertainty, politically and economically the last 6 months with things going on in Iran, where rates have crept back up. But they're still, I say it again, they're historically in line with where they've typically trended. So we're somewhere between FHA, a 6.31% rate, and 6.75 on a conventional. So rates can and will go back down.
Well, this I'm going to follow up with this question, and that's this. So, do you think that sometimes people don't consider the refinance option?
Absolutely. It's not something that gets talked about enough, but I had a buyer, good friend of mine, closed yesterday, and his rate on the closing was 6.75%. My prediction, and I crystal ball, so don't hold me to this, but my crystal ball and talking with other mortgage lenders, I would predict that sometime in the next probably 18, 24 months, he might be in a favorable situation to refinance that down by at least a point.
Right.
And then it would make sense. If the rates get back down to 5.75 or 5.5, he can refinance that. And guess what's going to happen? His mortgage payment is going to decrease.
Right.
Versus if he were a renter, that payment is going to increase from a rent standpoint. So,
yeah. And I think here's the thing about refinancing. I think, and I know you're not a mortgage lender, but you've been in this business so long. But when people refinance, they think, well, the cost of refinancing is not worth it because it's going to cost me so much money to refinance. Can you break that myth real quick?
Yeah, and I would actually defer to my lender friends on that more than anything. But usually the way the math works, yes, you're going to have some fees in refinancing that loan. But if the reduction in your monthly mortgage payment if you are going to pay those refinance fees back in about 2.5 years, it makes a whole lot of sense, especially if you're going to be in the house for another 5 years. And here's the other piece about refinancing, and I'll share actually a personal story. I refinanced my rate down by about a point during the pandemic. So I had locked in one rate, rates went even lower. I refinanced, and what I did with my refinance, my payment went down by about $125 a month. I kept paying that extra $125 anyway, and that was paid directly to principal. So I'm building the equity even faster in my personal residence because of that refinance. So that's the key.
A lot of people have hard time figuring out where the money's going to come from to
Mhm.
get into a home,
Mhm.
right? And you wrote me something about that there's $15,000 or so available for down payment assistance. Now, here's what people are going to say. Well, what's the catch
Yeah.
to it, right? They're going to say, well, you just aren't going to give me $15,000. Help people understand this program that you're talking about right now. That and okay, what is the catch if there is any at all?
I brought in several different little cheat sheets here,
Good.
Jay, that I'm going to share. We'll break down this renting versus buying here in just a
Okay.
minute. But this is the North Carolina first time home buyer program, and this program has actually been around for decades. And so
I see that.
it just went up to 15,000, I think, back in 2023. And it used to be $8,000 in down payment assistance. But the way it works, and to kind of read this out right here, if you are a first-time home buyer or military veteran and qualify for a North Carolina Home Advantage, you may be eligible for up to $15,000 in down payment assistance. That can go toward your part of your closing cost. That can go toward a interest rate buy down. So you could end up into a lower interest rate. And if you think about, closing costs, if you think about $15,000 of found money, that can make a significant difference
Right.
if you are strapped for cash and strapped for down payment money.
Right.
Because a lot of people think, and this is a myth, that they need 20% down to qualify for a
Right.
house. In an FHA mortgage, you only need 3% down. So in that scenario, if you got a $350,000 house, you really need to come with $10,000 in down payment. You're going to have closing cost on top of that. The $15,000 is going to come really close to covering every bit of that for you. And so it's a great program. I mentioned a friend of mine that just bought a house yesterday. He bought his first home 13 years ago. And 13 years ago, when this program was in play, the down payment assistance was $8,000. Well, over time, and there's details in this, once you've hit over 10 years in the property, a large percentage of that 15 is completely forgiven. He had been in his property 13 years, and so about 2/3 of that $8,000 had been forgiven. So he's getting some of that money back. And
Wow.
and if he'd have been in the house 15 years, the entire $8,000 would have been wiped off. So it is a great program. I've been sending this out. One of the conversations I've been having with first-time homebuyers is just that. It's about this $15,000, first-time homebuyer program.
So what I just heard you just say was that, and the payback options, and what you're saying is that the longer that you're in this house, you're not not paying this back.
No, you're not. And I've helped many first-time homebuyers utilize this program. And the fact that it's ballooned now, obviously inflation and
Right.
home values have ballooned $8,000 to $15,000.
Right.
That's keeping up with some of the rate there. So I got two real life
Yes,
scenarios.
so
here,
let's
Jay.
let's run this.
let's kind of run.
Yeah,
this
let's
toward
run
this.
the $15,000 and let's run the scenarios.
All right, so we're going to put these in show notes. I know.
Yeah. We'll
afterward,
put the,
I pulled up two real life examples, two homes.
When
did
did
this morning?
This morning. Okay.
Morning.
All
So I
right.
mentioned the 600 or so homes that are on the market right now.
Right.
And I pulled up two in a neighborhood that I've helped people buy and sell of it. And
Okay.
it's a neighborhood called Weaver's Pond,
Okay.
which is located in a little small town, Zebulon, North Carolina, just
Yeah.
outside
Just outside of Raleigh.
here. And so the first house I pulled up, Jay, it is 504 Yulee Drive. It's in Weaver's Pond, and it is priced and listed at $350,000.
Okay, which is below the average price here
It is.
in our area.
It is.
Okay.
Our median home price here,
442,
455 or so.
Yeah,
I think it
440,
came out.
450. Yeah.
So here's the math I did for this. Okay. So if a first-time home buyer were using this program could get an FHA mortgage and they were paying $10,000 down, their mortgage payment, Jay, would be $2,431 a month. 431.
431. Okay.
That's principal, taxes, insurance,
Okay.
principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. All right. So
Okay.
remember that number, 2,400.
2,400.
This
okay.
home right here, also in Weaver's Pond, and I wish everybody could see, these are the exact same floor plan. It's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath house with a 2-car garage, and they are identical looking. The mortgage payment on 504 Yulee Drive would be $2,400. 3325 Lacewing Drive is in the Triangle MLS right now, listed for rent at $2,300 a month.
For rent.
For rent.
So
That's
it's
a difference
same,
of $150 a month.
Same neighborhood, same floor plan, basically 2-car garage, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. I got that right?
You got that right. You could buy this one for $10,000 down and $2,400 a month, or you could rent this one for $2,300 a month, and you would probably have a $2,300 security deposit to boot. So you think about those two things.
So you could walk in, get this North Carolina Home Advantage down payment program.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, as a first-time home buyer, I really technically, if everything works out, I wouldn't have to put any money down out of my own pocket.
Very little. Probably, possibly none, but very little.
Right.
And think about this. So I got all kind of math scribbled.
Yeah,
on
I know. I'm looking at all. I look at all the math.
So let me think, but process that for just a minute.
Yeah.
You could buy a house for $150 a month more than you could pay in rent in the same exact neighborhood. And do you know what $150? You know what most of us do with $150 a month?
Blow it.
We spend that much on Starbucks coffee and lunch in a month.
Yeah, right.
You know,
absolutely.
and so that comes out to what, $1,800 per year.
By the way, one nice dinner.
Exactly.
It generally exceeds the $150.
All right. So now let's go back to something. We talked about this early, wealth building. We talked about investment versus sunk cost. If you pay $2,300 a month in rent, you're going to have that $2,300 that year of that money is going to be gone after 5 years. In a 5-year period of time, do you know how much money you're going to pay $2,300 a month for 60 months? That's $138,000. And that $138,000 is never coming back. It's gone.
And I can't.
If you spend $2,400 a month on mortgage, you're going to pay $145,000. But guess what you're going to have? You're going to have $33,000 of equity that you've built up in the property over that 5 years. You say, what is equity? Equity is the difference between the value of the house and the amount you owe on your mortgage. That's your equity.
Right.
That's your wealth building. That's why when you look over long-term studies of people who own their house versus rent, people who own their house, their net worth is much higher than those who have rented that length of time. I had a real life example. A couple came into our office about 2 weeks ago, and the initial conversation there was they wanted to. They were relocating from Long Island. They want to rent before they buy here for a couple reasons. One, they weren't sure they were ready to buy from a financial standpoint. They didn't know the area very well. We spent the next 2 days helping them get to know the area. And one of the first conversations I had with them here in the office was this same conversation about, let me show you what rent looks like. They're renting in Long Island right now for $2,100 a month. They're comfortable with that, maybe a little higher. And I showed them that they could come in here and buy a house in this same kind of price range and have a mortgage payment that's only slightly higher than what they're paying for rent in Long Island right now. It's one of those things that, to me, it's almost a no-brain decision.
Well, and if you're in Long Island, I'm assuming that you're not getting as much house.
No, they're in a much smaller house. This house, let me see the square footage on both of these. Square footage on this house is 2,094. The home they're renting in Long Island, I think my memory was 1,100 square feet.
Right.
So it's a significant difference. And here's the other point I'd make. That $33,000, if you buy this house and you're building that equity and you're building your net worth, do you want to put that $33,000 in your pocket and your net worth pocket, or do you want to put $33,000 in your landlord's pocket? Right. I want that to build my situation up there.
Well, the other thing I think here is that we don't consider is that, our area has traditionally done very, very well in terms of house pricing.
Exactly.
Has typically done well, and it's not been at a standstill. So it kind of factors into it a little bit too, that, as the value of your house increases, you're actually maybe a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Over time.
Because you're appreciating your house is appreciating in
Right.
value.
Right.
There have been very few exceptions where that has not proven to be
That's
true.
absolutely true.
Even this past few years, as we've kind
Yeah.
of come out of the pandemic and prices have somewhat stabilized, the wealth you're building is the appreciation in your value. But every month that you make a mortgage payment,
Right.
you're building more equity.
Right.
Every time. Every time you make a rent payment,
Right.
it's gone. It's never coming back.
Yeah. And there's other advantages too, right? To paying a mortgage in terms of there's some tax advantages there too.
Oh yeah.
That
Tax write-offs. You don't get to write off rent.
you don't get to write off the rent. So there's a whole lot of advantages to that. I think the big thing is that you've compared the numbers here, right? And I don't think people really realize how close they could be to home ownership, because when you say 2,300 versus 2,400, and we're talking $150 difference here, I mean, as we said, you're wasting at least that much money a month.
Oh, for sure. And you know what? If you think in terms of the doom and gloom that we often hear, negative news sells. And so we hear about affordability, and we hear about the amount of money you need for a down payment, and we hear how high rates are.
Right.
But it might be a lot closer than you think when you start to really break down the math.
Well, I'm just thinking about Starbucks for a second, right? Let's say you get a Starbucks coffee every morning for 30 days. You're probably spending between $5 and $6, right?
Yeah.
That's between $150 and $180.
Right.
Make coffee at home.
Exactly.
Man, right?
A K-Cup is a way cheaper option.
Way cheaper option. I mean, doesn't have to be that hard.
No, it doesn't.
And so that is, I think hopefully it's really eye-opening to everyone. All right. So wrapping up here, final question of the day. Where do they start? Because people go, okay, how do I start this whole process? Where's the best way for me to start going? You know what? I have been renting for a long time. I've got good credit. And I didn't realize that maybe I'm closer than I think. Where do they start? What is the starting process?
Perfect question. We're going to put show notes out there, but here's what I would say. Most people, Jay, they want to start by picking up their phone and setting up a Zillow search or a homes.com search. And then they set that search up just kind of almost window shopping and daydreaming about what house they want. And that's the wrong place to start, because what that'll do is that'll maybe give you the picture of, oh, I'm not sure I could afford that house, or look at what that cost and those kind of things. The simplest place to start is just with a conversation.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone. We're going to have information in there, email address, phone. Pick up the phone and talk to somebody. Sit down and meet with somebody over coffee. Hey, I'll buy you a Starbucks cup of coffee. And I'd love to have this conversation with you and show you the math and show you, hey, what is your credit score? What kind of assets do you have as far as down payment? How would this fit in as far as $15,000 assistance? And let's just have the conversation and figure out your buying power. Part of that conversation would be getting them connected with a lender who can also take that conversation one step further than me trying to help them find the right house. Well, that's the first step.
Yeah. Well, I think there's and you brought it up, but I'm going to go push on the danger of, going to Zillow, right? Because the danger of going to Zillow is, you could be going to Zillow and going, oh, that's my dream house. And then you go, oh, I can't afford it. And then you're not thinking through the process of going, okay, well, we start small and we move up. Right.
Yeah.
Because you can.
You absolutely can. You start somewhere, because guess what? If you're starting to accumulate that equity in that house, you're building your long-term wealth. Jay, first house I ever bought, 1996, Hickory, North Carolina, $94,000.
Right.
No idea what that house is worth today. But that was step number one. And it was a stretch. It was a stretch to get the $10,000 or so that I needed in down payment and closing cost. Did it. Sold that house for more than I paid for it. And each step along the way, I've done the same thing. Not living in a mansion, but living in a great house, great location, great neighborhood, building wealth. You got to start somewhere. Start with a first conversation.
Well, and I think we anchor so much, when we go to sites like Zillow, and we anchor so much on, oh, look at this, look at this, look like this. I think what happens is we can be disillusioned really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas if I talk to you and say, whoa, let's just back the horse and buggy up for a second here. Let's talk about what you can do,
Right.
right? Because oftentimes we go to Zillow, it's like, well, this is what I can't do, but you don't know what you can do,
No.
right? And so that's where I think, that first step, having that conversation starts the ball moving to say, okay, well, here's the programs that are available. And not only is this $15,000 program, but there's some lenders out there that that also have some different programs that are available, whether it's bank or lenders, whatever. And that that you go, well, we can even maybe make this enhance this a little bit. So I want people to be encouraged. They should be. You all should be encouraged because you're going, I don't think I can do it. Have the conversation.
Absolutely. Here's the last thing I'll say, Jay. I heard this a long time ago. A mentor of mine, coach, said this: we overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year. We underestimate what we can accomplish in 5.
Right.
When you take that long view,
right.
And that's what homeownership is. It's taking the long view. Do you want to be renting 5 years from now, or would you 5 years from now like to look back and go, wow, a home was worth that much when I paid for it, and it's worth this now. I had this much equity on closing day. I have this much equity now. That's exciting.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. There's also, I will also add to that there's this thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect. We get a little bit of knowledge and we think we know everything, right? And then when we get to the real conversation with you, we recognize we don't really know as much as we thought we know, right?
Sure.
And
happens to me all the time.
Right. Well, no, I know. I know. Listen, I get it. I'm the same way because we get a little bit of knowledge. We think we have it all down pat. And until you have the conversation, you all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, there is more available to me. That's often actually happened on a text chat with you just before the show.
That was fun. We had fun.
We had fun with that. So this has been great.
Great.
Is there something else we should hit here, or do you think we've got it pretty covered here?
I think we need contact information, and they need to reach out. Let's have that conversation.
Then, you know what? How do we get a hold of you, Dwayne?
Give me a call, 919-623-3731. Email address is very memorable. It's Dwayner. Dwayne R at lindacraft.com. Would love to have that conversation and see what your buying power might be.
Yeah. What was the phone number?
919-623-3731.
623
3731.
3731.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna, my exchange back in Ithaca, Nebraska with 623.
Very good.
Yeah.
919-623-3731.
3731. Well, I just want to make sure that we all have it. By the way, thanks, Erica, for say this is great information. Your guest is so knowledgeable. She wants to know if you're single. You'll have to talk to you, Erica, because you're his wife. This is the show. You know what? We're so glad you joined us. You had a lot of choices. You chose us. Thanks for doing that. We really do appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Wherever you listen to the show, will you please write us a 5-star review? We really appreciate it. And much more, tell your friends, because this is what we do. We love doing it. And we're just trying to help everybody around the world be more educated and better when it comes to real estate. Thanks to Dwayne Reece, everybody around. As I say to you all over the world, you know what that is. Ciao, everybody.